I always appreciate this opportunity to address the membership, to provide a general view of the Federation. So I want to share some reflections on the past year and looking ahead for the organization, in addition to what you'll receive in the State of the Federation report. The printed report is on its way from Albuquerque, go figure that, and we'll have it this afternoon for you. And I really do encourage you to look through the printed report. It lists our activities, our liaisons, our networks. It lists our new publications. It talks about the service centers and our programs. But this morning, I want to do something different. This morning, I'd like to group my comments around 3 different themes. My first theme is I teach confirmation. My second theme, I have grandchildren. My third theme, life can be challenging. So here we go. My first theme, I teach confirmation. Recently, a young person in my confirmation class complained that Mass was boring and that he didn't get anything out of it. To which I responded, and I'm sure every youth minister sitting here would respond, you only get out of Mass what you put into it. It may be developmental, it may be societal, but that starting point seems to be how something affects me as opposed to how it affects someone else. The starting point seems to be, what do I get out of the involvement, not what do I bring to the engagement. It's not unsimilar or dissimilar from what happens in a diocese when a parish youth minister says, I'm not involved in the diocese because it doesn't meet my needs. It's as true of the Federation. It's when the diocese says, NFCYM doesn't meet my needs. I think that's the wrong starting point. I don't remember discipleship being about what I get. Rather, it's about what we give and others get. I suspect that visionary leadership, discipled leadership, needs to ask the question, how can I contribute to a preferred future, a gospel future for all young people? It's a very different starting point. I believe that's what you've done. I think that's why you're here. I certainly understand that our participation in this community is a genuine benefit for us personally and professionally. But I believe also that each of you gathered here is committed to moving forward the church's pastoral ministry with young Catholics. You are an engaged membership, and I've learned in my 18 years of nonprofit management that a membership that is informed, committed, passionate, and competent is absolutely essential for a ministry organization to be effective, to be successful, and even to survive. But this has been a challenging year for our ministry community. It's been a year of great loss. You may have seen in the press that Father Berard Marthauer and Father Richard McBrien died recently. Both were renowned authors and theologians concerned with and committed to actualizing Vatican II. But in the youth ministry community, as you saw in the video last night, in May, Lee Nagel died, the executive director of the National Conference on Catechetical Leadership, and one of our strongest partners. In November, Colette Kennett died, the former diocesan director for Belleville. In December, Mark Passioni died, the former diocesan director of youth ministry in Baltimore and a member of the CYF USA Board of Directors. Mark was my close friend and colleague. And in December, Sister Norma Gutierrez died, former diocesan director of youth ministry in Austin. This annual membership meeting was one of the highlights for both Colette and Mark. When they were here, being with their colleagues and friends, sharing in the great adventure of fostering the kingdom of God, that was key for them. They loved this ministry and they loved this organization. They never asked, what do I get out of this? They continually asked, what can I give? We miss them communally, and I miss them personally. They were the epitome of engaged member. They dedicated their lives to a pastoral ministry with young Catholics. And their commitment to our mission and their passion for this work serves as a wonderful lens through which we can view the past year and look forward to the coming year. My second theme, I have grandchildren. Youth ministry is becoming increasingly personal for me. My grandchildren, 6.5 years old, 3.5, 1.5. But I know that as they age, they will probably not live in their current parish and probably not live in their current diocese. The research tells us that many Catholic young people won't even live within the Catholic tradition. And increasingly, young people are disconnecting from any denomination at all. That reality challenges all of us to have a larger vision for our ministry. The era of ministry by personal preference is over. Our commitment must be to a gospel vision preached and lived everywhere. Because my grandchildren are going to live in your diocese, and hopefully they're going to utilize the resources and services of your organizations. I hope you meet my grandchildren on their turf and in their spirituality, rather than on our turf and in our spirituality. We need big picture thinking. We need to be that big tent church. Pastoral leaders today no longer have the luxury of concentrating just on their home diocese or even on their home cultures. We are preparing young people today for the global community. It's all changed. Collaborating members today no longer have the luxury of concentrating just on their constituencies. We are challenged to reach young people on the margins, the unseen, and the unchurched. We don't even have the luxury anymore of concentrating on just young people. Silo ministry is over. We're challenged to minister to the context, to the family. Genuine collaboration, authentic collaboration is hard work. It's messy and it's chaotic, and it requires a balanced degree of humility and wisdom. NFCYM has been committed to genuine collaboration, the release of our collective gifts in service to the faith community, building the kingdom of God. I don't think today a diocesan leader should dismiss or even ban the programs or resources of a collaborating member without first consulting with that organization's leadership. I don't think a collaborating member should hold an event in the diocese without first consulting with the diocesan youth ministry leader. I don't think NFCYM should be creating an event or a service without first consulting with the diocese and the collaborating members who are affected, or that a collaborating member might hold or schedule an event in competition with the NFCYM activity. I believe a house divided among itself will not stand. Collaboration is tough, and it requires that we ask ourselves several key questions when we start to plan. Who else should know about this project? Who will be impacted? Who else should be involved in this project? Who else has gifts that could enhance this project? Collaboration requires that we move beyond a creeping polarization, both in the church and in the civic arena, to find common ground, so that we can harness the gifts of all of us, of the whole community, on behalf of our mission and our ministry. The critique that someone or something is not Catholic enough is always a challenge. I'm not even certain what that exactly means, and I suspect it's a moving target, that in some people's minds, that definition will never be attained. Pope Francis describes the church as a love story, not an institution. How hard is it to define love? When walking through Inspiration Junction at the 2013 NCYC, it struck me strongly for the first time that indeed that park is the Catholic village. Walking through that park is a moment of evangelization and or catechesis. Gathered in that park is the wider church. It's Catholic universities, it's Catholic relief services. It's our work camp and mission trip providers. It's our cultural communities, it's our performing ministries. It's our publishers, our ministry formation trainers, 62 religious communities, and on and on. The Catholic village gathered together on behalf of our young people. I want my grandchildren to walk through that village. And did you go to the exhibit in the resource area at NCCYM? The Catholic village gathered to support our pastoral leadership. However, as our arena expands, the Federation will be challenged to address serious issues of how we can better support the wider church, the wider church ministry village. How should we share our resources to foster a more vibrant experience of church for all of our people? Because ultimately, it's about Jesus and the challenge of discipleship. But there seems to be something in the air. From the discussions we've had now over the last 2 years on strategic planning, it's obvious that the territory for ministry has changed and continues to change rapidly. And it requires a new map for the Federation and for our pastoral ministry with young Catholics. Pope Francis has certainly put his stamp on the church, and it's a significant indication that change is in the air. Organizational change, societal change, Vatican change, church change. Oscar Romero has been declared a martyr, and he's now on track for beatification. You can feel the energy and the excitement, the spirit moving through our church. It feels a bit to me like trying to get back to our roots in the midst of incredible change. Cardinal Kasper said this of Pope Francis: he does not represent a liberal position, but a radical position, understood in the original sense of the word as going back to the roots, the radis. That's a real challenge. Being a radical, going back to our roots, is not about going backwards. It's about going deeper. It's pausing to remind ourselves of why we do what we do. And once we grapple with the mission question, then we can deal with the structure question and the leadership question. Are we structured to fulfill our mission? Do we have the leadership required? So as you know, we've initiated a process for major change in the organization that requires that we move beyond business as normal, moving beyond the comfortable and engaging the risky. In spring 2014, you heard Joe talk last night about the Financial Sustainability Task Group that reviewed our long-term financial challenges and resources. We plan proactively for the next 4 to 8 years in order to ensure our financial health. And as much as we gathered here are people who are committed to ministry, the financial realities require that we be good stewards of our resources and that we always ask ourselves the question, how much of our vision can we afford? This process dovetails with the strategic planning process, our new pastoral priorities, our assessment of our structures and our vision, our mission, our leadership, and the beginning of a national dialogue on pastoral ministry with young Catholics. And though you will hear an update later on in this meeting, I want to thank those of you who've already participated in those local discussions about pastoral priorities, in the structure survey, and in the diocesan leader survey. Your feedback is extremely important as we move our membership forward, as we move the field of youth ministry forward. So when we look ahead a little bit, and in conversation with Bruce Baumgarten from the national staff, he thinks that we should take some clues from developments in the field of technology and communications. Apparently, whatever we believe about the future, whatever we do in the future, it's going to be faster, more social, more conversational, and more blended between virtual and real life. The future, the present, is faster. In a world of increased digital speed and higher bandwidth, 24-hour news cycles, decreasing attention spans, and perhaps millennial activism, we will clearly be challenged as an organization, as ministers, to find ways to plan, converse, and strategize in shorter cycles. We're approaching the time, and perhaps we've already passed the time, that conversations that begin with realities that were 2 to 3 years ago in the past will most probably be outdated by the time we finish the conversation. Even the Pope can talk on the plane about who am I to judge, or give a shout out to veterinarians when he says something about breeding like rabbits. And it's already hit the news services before his plane lands. So how will we pick up the pace? How will we assure thoughtful and intellectual conversations of value in such a paced society? The future and the present is social. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we're still in the infancy of seeing social media. And as some of us grow older, other people, and are replaced by younger leaders for whom this is a learned skill, or not a learned skill, but a fact of life, we will need new ways as an organization of mining the thoughts and the reflections of our field as they're expressed in the conduits of social media. It's interesting, with all the planning we've done with our surveys, we're already seeing the decline of things like online questionnaires. People would rather express their opinions in a tweet or a status update. So what happens when there aren't even any words but just pictures in our Instagram account or on Facebook page? If everyone looks happy, does that mean NCYC was a success? And one of the abiding concerns, of course, is how do we assure thoughtful reflection in 140 characters or less? The future, the present, is also conversational. Somewhat related to the tools of social media, many of those tools are being used to create and continue conversations, as they're referred. The very individuals who may not fill out that questionnaire may actually be giving us a great deal of important information in the conversations that occur online and in person. Seems to me that whether an account or an actual conversation begins in an account or a conversation of comments are written in response to posted articles or videos, we're clearly seeing a new way of communicating. And how will we mind that? And how will we promote respectful, civil dialogue in the social media? And the future and the present is blended. We cannot call ourselves an incarnational faith and think that our future relies solely in digital communications. Like much of our Catholic tradition, this is not an either or, it's more a both and. Our future planning and our wisdom sharing will likely occur through a blend of technologies and a set of intentional, personal conversations and encounters in real life. And this is not just a faith perspective. There continues to be sociologists who maintain that the digital virtual lifestyle that will always need to be somehow impacted, balanced by face-to-face social encounters. Isn't this the conversation we've already had about our young people? Are their virtual relationships more important than their face-to-face, and how do each impact the other? And it's going to call into question, what does it mean to be human, and what does it mean to be Christian? How will we incorporate this blended conversational reality in the already faster future we see coming? I can't even begin to dare to attempt to answer some of those questions. I mean, I'm happy when I get a tweet out. I think that's pretty good. But I suspect that my grandchildren will do this as second nature. Even NFCYM is increasing in our complexity. This membership meeting actually started on Saturday morning when the Board of Directors for Catholic Youth Foundation USA met. The leadership teams for the National CYO Sports and NACAMO, they started meeting on Monday and Tuesday. Management committees began on Tuesday. Task groups have begun. Who knows what other meetings are going on in the same time frame? And I suspect many of you are meeting over breakfast and in the bar. Just thinking. But I want to remind us that even as we gather, the NFCYM is still a unique experiment in church ministry. We try as an organization to combine diocesan leaders who need to answer to their bishops with leadership from publishers and religious communities, academic institutions, leadership from ministry formation organizations and performing ministries and national ministry organizations. There are no organizational role models for what we're trying to do in this organization. We have a unique organizational vision. We attempt to bring everyone to the table, all those who touch the lives of Catholic young people. Indeed, different gifts, but the same body. And we attempt this while aiming for equal ownership and investment. You've heard me use this phrase, but I believe it. We are chaotic. We are a blend of chaos and order with a commitment to genuine collaboration. We blend strategic planning with what I call serendipitous planning, the ability to respond to changing circumstances and changing realities. This experiment of ours creates structural challenges. We have 175 affiliated dioceses, represents 96% of all the Roman dioceses in the United States. That's a remarkable affiliation rate. We also have 70 collaborating members. That's a 300% increase in 10 years, and we have 6 new applicants this year. But to survive in these challenging times, we will need to find a way to marshal the gifts and the resources of all of our member dioceses and collaborators so that the mission of the Federation to serve those who serve the young Catholic Church can be enhanced. You've heard the phrase, a rising tide raises all boats. If our conferences continue to be effective and successful, if our training services are worthwhile, then I believe that all of our diocesan and collaborating members will benefit. Diocesan and collaborating members now share full responsibility for Federation programming. We all win. The young church wins, the wider church wins when we harness the gifts, the resources, and the vision of the people who are gathered here. There's an African proverb that says this: if you want to go quickly, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. My friends, I believe that pastoral ministry with young Catholics in the United States is going far, very far. And then my last image. Life can be challenging. I want to remind us this morning that we are not just a ministerial community. We are a faith community. Sometimes it is easy to get caught up in the business of our ministry. And when you look at our meeting schedule, clearly there's plenty of business to accomplish this week. But let's not forget that we are first and foremost a faith community. Among us here, some of our members lost parents this year. Some of us lost siblings this year. Lee, Colette, Norma, and Mark died this year. Some of our members and some of our national staff got married this year. Some became parents, some became grandparents. Some of us went to Korea to do youth ministry training. Some went to the March for Life in D.C., where it felt like Korea in the wintertime. Some of us lost jobs this year in our field, and some of us started new positions. 22 dioceses hired in the last year. 13 dioceses hired in the previous year. Some of our members gathered here dealt with serious medical issues, strokes, cancer, infectious diseases. Some grappled with other serious personal and family issues. We sometimes forget. Some of our members here dealt with tragedies of nature, tornadoes, floods, wildfires, drought, the polar vortex, and some of us here dealt with the tragedies of evil. Ferguson, Cleveland, New York, shootings, gun violence. The CYF USA Board and the Federation Board said goodbye to outgoing members and hello to new members. In the national office, we said goodbye to Lee Sturton, to Ellen Mileska, and to Matthew Robashevitz. And now we welcome Javier Bustamante, the director of the Catholic Youth Foundation USA, and Jeannie Bross-Judge, the director of marketing and communications. And I hope they're both here. And if they are, I'd ask them to stand. Javier's one. Let's not forget that while indeed we may work for the institutional church, with all the challenges and the frustrations and the blessings inherent, when we gather together in this way, we gather as the inspirational church, with all the grace and the spirit and the compassion that characterize disciples of Jesus Christ. So, in conclusion, from the vantage point of being executive director, I believe sincerely that we're blessed as an organization. We're blessed with a compelling vision for our ministry, a chaotic structure guided by organizational values that somehow works. We're guided by competent visionary leadership in our officers and our board, our management committees, and in our task groups. We're blessed with a flexible and collaborative spirit. Our openness as an organization to change, our openness to and the ability to be flexible, enables us to respond to changing needs, to handle chaos, and to adapt to changing circumstances and realities. I do believe that's the gift of young people to the church. Through us is that flexible spirit, that collaborative spirit. And I do believe that we're blessed with a committed and passionate membership. This year alone, we owe much to the NCCYM leadership team, to Carol Adrian, who handled the exhibit hall, to Declan Ware, who coordinates all the conference productions, to the Adult Training and Certification Management Committee, chaired by Grace Cassetta, to the NCCYM Task Group, chaired by Michelle Fisher, the national staff, and especially to our hostess, Joan Martinez from the Archdiocese of San Antonio, and their gracious and hospitable volunteers. So I would ask that those folks who were involved in somehow making NCCY happen for the wider church this year, would you please stand so we can express our appreciation for your work? Please stand. Then my last point, I believe we're also blessed with a competent and committed national staff. They have a passion for this ministry. They have a passion for this organization. They are spirited and spirit-filled, and I consider them wonderful colleagues and friends. And so in this time of significant challenges, when we consider issues of vision, structure, and leadership, may we be humble enough to acknowledge that NFCYM is a means to an end, not an end in itself. That the end, the goal, is the kingdom of God. And if we do that, and in so doing, we literally prepare the way as disciples of Jesus Christ, as signs of the reign. May the good Lord continue to bless each of us, bless the NFCYM in our pastoral ministry to, with, for, and by all young Catholics. Thank you.